The Levelling is a British drama film set in the rural area of Somerset, England, about a trainee veterinarian named Clover, who returns to the farm where she grew up after hearing news that her brother has died in what appears to be a suicide. He shot himself in the head. Finding the family home in disrepair following the 2014 floods that devastated this area, she is forced to confront her father, who is a tormented shadow of his former self, a nasty alcoholic, about the farm, the livestock, and crucially, the details surrounding her brother's death. As the funeral approaches, her discoveries center her on an emotional journey of understanding and acceptance of her family and of herself. And again, I'm discussing a film that seems to have been almost universally praised by critics, but not so much by audiences. And again, I'm really not surprised to see why, because this is a film in which there really isn't any, entertainment value in the slightest. I mean, it's a pretty slow and quiet and bleak and a melancholic film almost from beginning until the end. And even as far as filmmaking goes, it really doesn't have all that much to offer. It's not anything mind-blowing. They worked with a very low budget, so it was nice to see that the location really worked in their advantage. I mean, the house, the land, just the landscapes in general of rural England just have so much personality to them by default that the film really looks good even without feeling like it's trying too hard. And the story as well is not anything all that special. It's, about the person who has changed lifestyles for the better, having to go back to their home after a long period of absence and having to confront some sort of dysfunctional relationship, the very relationship they were trying to escape from in the very first place. And the film really isn't trying to be anything that it's not. I mean, it is incredibly linear and focused and simple and straightforward. The director even said in an interview that initially she envisioned this film to being an ensemble piece, but as she was developing it, she realized that for this story to be emotionally satisfying, she really had to focus just on this central relationship between the father and the daughter. And it's really, the film is all that it's about. I mean, there's one major character besides them two. It's one of her brother's friends, and really the film has such good performances. I really think it's the strongest thing in the film that it actually would have been a shame to have something else distracting from that. And it's, for such a short film, it's only like 83 minutes long with credits. It was really good to see something as focused and as well performed as this. There are moments during the film during which you might think that it is going to go in a different direction, that it's going to become something more complicated. I mean, during the very beginning of the film, when Clover receives the news that her brother has died, she actually says out loud that she wishes it was her father who had died and not her brother. So she is very suspicious from the start that that was an actual suicide. So she starts investigating, she starts asking people around and shit. And the film is really not about that. I mean, the film really doesn't treat her brother's death as a mystery. I mean, whether it was a suicide, which is more likely, or whether it was an accident, which is also, quite possible, really doesn't matter for us so much as the viewers. And like I said, the film really doesn't try to shy away from the fact that it treats this tragedy as more or less a MacGuffin. I mean, for us, it really doesn't matter if he committed suicide or if it was an accident. I mean, he did kill himself, that's for sure, so it wasn't murder. And it's much more about getting this character, Clover, who has been away for a long time from this place, getting her back into the situation and getting her to face a situation that was never really resolved. So it becomes a film much more about how much you know and how much you don't know actually about the people closest to you, and how much you know and don't know about your own self. There's a very interesting scene in the film in which she and her father are seeing a therapist, and Clover is saying that, oh, my brother didn't kill himself, I mean, I know him, he would have never done anything like that. And the therapist says something quite interesting, that, hey, even though all of the signs are pointing that he did kill himself, he did commit suicide, so whenever something like that does happen, it's very natural to try and make sense of things. It's very natural to try and figure out your place in the story. But if you do feel like you are struggling with it, it might be that you are struggling with something about you rather than something about him. So this really gets her thinking, like, did I actually knew my brother as well as I thought I did, or not? And the same goes for her father as well. I mean, during a moment in the film, she finds a bunch of dead badgers buried in the ground of their land, and for reasons she will find out later in the film, and she just starts thinking, like, who the hell could have done this? What a horrible person had to have done this. And obviously she immediately thinks of her father. It proves to not have been him. Or during another scene, she thanks a neighbor for having called her and invite her to the party at which her brother eventually died. And that neighbor tells her that, oh, your father told me to invite you, you are always on his mind. And her reaction is just like, what? Am I always on my father's mind? I mean, we basically hate each other. She calls him by his first name, for fuck's sake, so that's never a good sign. And again, the film becomes about her trying to figure out her father. I mean, she starts thinking like, hey, maybe he's not as bad as I thought he is. Maybe I misunderstood with him during a certain point. Maybe I was too young to understand him in the past. Maybe he is suffering and is unable to deal with his grief, just as I am. So yeah, the film is very much about grief, but it's very interesting how it handles grief. I mean, instead of treating it as something like static and disabling and melancholic, rather it explores the opportunities it can give you. I mean, in Clover's case, in this character's case, yeah, she comes back here, her brother has died in a very tragic way, but now at least she is here. She tries to explore like how can she mend this relationship with her father. If her brother hadn't died, then she would have never come back. So, you know, these are the opportunities something like this can give you. I mean, taking something negative and maybe turning it into a positive is something you would like to consider. So yeah, like I said, this film, it's pretty sad, it's pretty bleak, it's pretty melancholic, it's not a joyride at all, but I think there's also hope in it, and I think the ending of the film really exemplifies that, and I love the ending. I think the ending really makes this film worth watching. So yeah, it's a very simple film, it's a drama, but I think it's a pretty effective drama, and if you like that sort of stuff, I recommend it. My question to you guys would be, what are some of your favorite like drama films, but especially drama films which are, you know, very sad and very bleak and very depressing. I want really depressing films in my comment section, so please don't disappoint. Leave your answers down below, and thanks for watching my review. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can see you later with other reviews. And until then, folks, as always, stay cool, stay awesome, and goodbye.